I'm very obsessed with popular culture. What rappers on the come up, which streamers on the come up, which actresses on the come up. Then things like, the Stanley Cups, I could have told you was going to happen a month before it hit everybody's radar.
Yeah.
Why did the mango gummies that are made by Nice, the private label at Walgreens, sell out, right? Like, I'm paying attention to popular culture. I DM'd Bad Bunny in 2017. I'm really in it. Like, why? Why do people care about this person? Why was Charlie D'Amelio's first business meeting in my office? Why did we discover Logan Paul on Vine? Attention is the number one asset.
Gary, hi. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. One of the things we talk about on this show is business and sort of building out your empire. And you've got a solid, would you call it an empire?
I would, and I say that because I think everyone should be thinking that way.
Yeah.
Right. And like, obviously, I am either crazy, good, or crazy bad. But I enjoy having a lot of different businesses. Many of my most successful friends razz me for being all over the place, or Gary, if you just focused. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to maximize money. I'm trying to maximize happiness.
Ooh.
And so for me, I get joy out of starting a new business or a venture. And I'm also good at it. It's not like all my companies go out of business. Most of my things work to some degree. So I enjoy it. And I think it's fun to think of it that way. But that's an insular game. I'm not worried about how it's viewed from the outside.
Yeah.
But for myself, I do think I have the ambition to build something meaningful.
You said most of your things work to some degree. Can you talk about some degree? Like, how do you define work?
Yeah, no, it's a great, like, here are the core things I've done in my life, right? Like, I built my dad's wine business for him. It was a $3 million business when I walked into it. When I left it a decade later, it was a $65 million business, making a lot more profit than it was at 3. It was making 10% gross profit. At 65, it was making 24% gross profit. So a much better business. I decided that I wanted to be a successful author. I've had 5 New York Times best-selling books. I wanted to be a successful public speaker. I'm one of the most compensated speakers in the world.
Yeah.
I wanted to build a personal brand. I've done that. I started VaynerMedia, an advertising agency. It is now currently one of the 2 or 3 largest independent global agencies in the world. I wanted to be an effective investor. I invested in Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and Snap and Coinbase. I've done very well in that world. Vayner Sports is something my brother runs, but I'm very involved in. We wanted to do a sports agency. We're sitting here today filming on the day of the NFL draft, and it is very likely, though it's an unpredictable thing, that we will have someone go in the first round of the NFL draft. Big shout out Kool-Aid. And so, VeeFriends is a real thing. Like, I think, and VeeFriends is the most fun because it was in that NFT world, so that's where all the attention is. But quietly, even though it's loud, quietly, right now I'm building a very large intellectual property, a Pokemon, Marvel, Sesame Street like brand called VeeFriends. I have a kids book coming out in a couple of months. I have a cartoon coming out on YouTube Kids by the people that do Coco Melon. If you go to eBay right now and type in VeeFriends, you will be stunned by the completed items and sales of the trading cards. I co-founded Rezi.
Yeah.
And honestly, I could keep going.
You could keep going.
And so that's a lot of stuff.
You're doing a lot of stuff. And how are you... What is the recruitment process like for you for finding leaders of all these different businesses?
What a great follow-up question. I like to grow them.
Okay. What does that look like?
It looks like patience. And so let me explain what right?
It's so real.
Most of the things I mentioned now are more recent. So Wine Library was forever. Right, it was from 1998 to 2011 full time. VaynerMedia started in 9. I went full time in 11, which is how I'm referencing the Wine Library thing. And then, like, a lot of the stuff I just mentioned really started happening in 2018, 19. And so in that 7-8 years when I was building it, when you look at it, right, AJ runs Vayner Sports. AJ and I, with our partner Phil Toronto, run the fund. Phil Toronto started as an intern for us.
Wow.
I didn't mention that I started Empathy Wines, which was a direct-to-consumer wine brand that I sold for a lot of money to Constellation Brands. My 2 partners in that business, John Troutman and Nate Schroeder, both were interns at VaynerMedia 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
VeeFriends.
so they're coming up with you.
Homegrown leaders.
Yeah, VeeFriends is run by Andy Craniac, who was also an intern. VaynerMedia, global, LA. Who runs LA? Lisa Buckley. She's been with me for 7 years. Who's the chief business officer? Kaylin McNamara. She's been with me for 10 years. The Sasha Group, which is a company in the holding company of VaynerX, where VaynerMedia is, he's been with me for 15 years, right? You know, like there's, I mean, dozens of chief of staff, Hannah, 9 years. Like, but all of the people I just mentioned started as kids, all of them.
Yeah.
It is very rare for me to bring someone from the outside in a very substantial role because they're not family.
Interesting.
So for me, it's family business vibes.
Okay, because I know a lot of people who listen to this show, they're starting a business or they're thinking of starting a business and they're trying to figure out how to get people to help them and work with them. If I think about myself, I have a couple companies and I own a couple companies, and I feel sometimes overwhelmed by having multiple. And I also feel sometimes frustrated by the fact that the person that I find in leadership is not ready immediately.
Makes sense.
But I'm hearing you say that's maybe not the goal, that they need to be immediately ready.
They can't, they almost never can be.
Yeah.
Like hiring from the outside is guessing.
Yeah.
Right? Hiring is guessing.
Yeah.
Promoting and firing is knowing.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's
Right?
a good
Hiring
one.
is guessing, promoting and firing is knowing. Why is promoting and firing knowing?
Because you've made a decision based on the reality of them being with you.
Performance.
Right. Do you know that I've never called a reference in my entire career? Ever. It's crazy. You're going to give me a piece of paper with the 3 people you already talked to say that they're going to co-sign you when I call them?
So,
You pick the people. So instead, what do? You give them a project?
No, that's a great idea. What I do is I go with my intuition. Now, what is fun at scale, remember, let's take a step back. I just rattled off a lot of stuff, and I'm really empathetic that most people are not 20 years into their successful career.
Yeah.
So let's go back to day one. For me, let's start with a couple things. When I was only hiring people that were making $7 an hour minimum wage in New Jersey at the time to do stocking the shelves at Wine Library, I would predominantly either want to hire acquaintances or friends,
Yeah.
or once I had a good employee, I wanted their cosign to who I should hire.
Aha. Okay. Yeah.
So a good thing for smaller business, when you hire your first person, doesn't work out. You hire someone else, doesn't work out. Now you hire a third person, does work out. Sarah's killing it. Now you're ready for another hire. The first thing I do is I go to Sarah and say, Sarah, who have you worked with, or who's a friend of yours or a family member that's like you?
Because Sarah knows what it takes to do the role well, too.
And you trust Sarah because she's already doing good work. Now, occasionally Sarah will put on someone who she loves more than the job, and you might get caught. But I found less often. I feel like that Sarah in this story is a good egg, and you're coming to her from a really empathetic, honest place, and she wants to keep growing, and so she wants to make a good recommendation. I love, and I mean love, creating, like in sports, they call it a coaching tree, right? There's a head coach and he has a bunch of assistants and then they go on to be good. I love hiring trees. You hire a good employee, especially if you're further along. At Vayner, I can do this all day long now. You hire someone, they come from another advertising agency that they worked at for 6 years. They come and work for you. They're there for 9 months. They're crushing it. I will always go to that person and be like, who else is good?
Yeah.
Who's like you?
And almost have them build their own team, essentially.
Even if, and in that scenario, to my company, they may be a creative director, but they're like, oh, you know who's great at project management? Sandra, who has to work at Drogify, which is a great agency, or, you know, and so I think a lot about that. And so if you're just starting out, you're guessing, but then you have someone, rely on them too.
Gary, I'm curious, you did just rattle off, I wanted to do this, I did it. I wanted to do this, I did it. And then you said, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, I've had the time to really explore these different paths. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind as something that just flat out didn't work?
The L.
What's L? Yeah.
Oh, I have many. I mean, there's a lot of L's, but I think the L's for me are micro L's. So, like, there's been many divisions in Vayner sampling. Inside of VaynerMedia was something I'm so passionate about. Like, I still think most companies don't sample beauty, food, beverage, like sampling. Get people to taste your soda, then they may like it. It's much better than doing unlimited advertising. So a lot of divisions have not worked. A lot of executions, I would say, like, the macro thing, most of it has worked.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually conservative. I'm very I'm an immigrant. I'm practical.
Yeah.
I'm not like spending money I can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
I'm also good at what I do. It's first of all, professionally, I'm getting older. I mean, it's 26 years that I've been full-time, but that's not even true. I've been really, really in my dad's liquor store business since I was 14. By the time I was 22 and ran it full-time, I was experienced.
Yeah.
Like the day I walked in after college, I knew everything. There was at least when I say I knew everything, I mean in how to run the liquor store.
Yeah.
And I mean everything. I knew how to stock the shelves. I knew how to make the ice. I knew how to fill the beer cooler. I knew how to ring up the register. I knew how to buy wine. I knew how to sell. I knew everything. And so, I think only very side vanity projects have completely failed. There was a company I started called Vayner Toys, where I took a couple buddies and I just wanted them to post everything I was buying at garage sales on eBay. It was just not a very good business model.
Yeah,
but that was a hobby.
Yeah.
Like true things, not really, because I've done a lot of things, but not. I know I just rattled off a lot of things, but not a lot. There was a lot of things that failed for me where I wasn't active. So I bought Corked, CORKD. This may go back to what you're dealing with. I bought Corked, CORKD, back in 2011. Nine, which was a wine social network.
Okay.
It was epic. I loved it. I was obsessed with it, and then I bought it. Big shout out Dan Cederholm, amazing guy. But I hired Lindsay, a Harvard Business School grad, who's amazing. I love Lindsay. And ironically, John Troutman, who was my partner in Empathy Wines, who now is a key player at VeeFriends, was an intern for it.
Yeah.
But I was so busy, back to being busy. I'd never run a lot of things. I only ran Wine Library, and now we just started VaynerMedia. And so two things was busy for me. I didn't have the infrastructure yet. I didn't have 3 full-time admins. I didn't have 2 chief of staffs. I didn't have 50 people around me that have been with me for 10 years and I can talk simpatico with.
Do you have all these things now? You have 3 full-time admins.
Correct.
Okay,
I didn't have the broad shoulders of being able to. I could juggle 2-3 balls, but I wasn't me yet. This version, I couldn't do 12, and so cell phones weren't like that, where everyone could be reachable. You had to So the world was different for me, and so Corked. I said, Lindsay, you run it, and I was giving it an hour a week, and it failed.
Yeah.
And by the way, not only did I do Corked, I did another thing called Forest, which was with Kyle Bragger, which was this social network for developers and designers, kind of like Dribble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Failed. Because I was not only the 1B, I was the number 4. I was barely involved, but I'll take that L because I was the co-founder, partner. But I've never failed in anything where I've been the one driving. Sometimes when I've been in the passenger seat, definitely when I've been in the back seat. But if I'm the driver, we're fucking winning.
This is something I'm trying to figure out for myself.
I love that.
This is something I'm really kind of playing with, and I'd love your thoughts and advice on this, because when I have multiple businesses that I'm running, if I'm giving a lot of attention to it, I'm sort of giving my Terra factor to it, it works out very well. And when I'm more pulled back from it, maybe you're right, it's an infrastructure thing. I haven't figured out how to infuse my energy enough into it so that it works. And it maybe sounds a little bit cocky for me to say oh, if I'm part of it, it works. And if I'm not part of it, it doesn't.
But it's
cocky.
It's not cocky. That's saying when Tom Brady's on the Patriots, they're good, and when he's not, they're not.
Yeah.
I view it like sports. By the way, I use Tom Brady as an example. That just pissed me. I'm a huge Jets fan. I fucking hate him. The player. Yeah, I hear he's a nice guy. Yeah. No, that makes all the sense in the world.
Well, it reminds me of so I run a personal finance media brand, and a very common refrain is millionaires have 7 streams of income. And I think the average person who maybe has a W-2 job hears that and goes, okay, I got to get 7 jobs.
Now,
let me immediately diversify how I'm earning. And that's not really, I don't think, how it works. You have to go full force at one thing, and then you layer on as you go. And that I think some of these things can proliferate and create multiple streams of revenue within one source of focus. I don't know that that's exactly what you're talking about, because you have different
No. That's what I am saying. It's why you said that was I said it earlier. In 2012, I couldn't do 7 things. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the infrastructure. I didn't have the experience yet. I had the talent, but I had to be patient. As you were just talking, as we're talking, I'm like, man, what's really fucked up right now is that every 20-year-old on earth thinks that they need to become a millionaire in their 20s, and no 20-year-old on earth 40 years ago thought that.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to take time to get there.
Well, I do want to ask you about content creation, because when you walked in, you brought someone with you
Yes.
who was filming you.
Dustin.
We're obviously filming you as well.
Correct.
And you said, for the first 5 years, I had someone filming me every single minute of the day. And I go, oh, well, that makes sense because I followed you on social media. And you were everywhere all the time, all at once.
Yeah.
And I thought, how the hell is this guy doing this? How is he constantly producing so much stuff? And to this day, I go look at GaryVee Audio Experience. Every single day, there's a new episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm exhausted just watching this, but I'm curious from your perspective, A, how were you kind of ahead of the curve there? How did you think about it at the time, and how has your perspective shifted on the production of media and like what you are personally creating, what you're putting out there?
Great question. I think that, it's funny you bring this up because it's obviously I'm in pocket right now where day trading tension's about to come out. So this book is this is gonna be very interesting for me I'm very detached from by the way, another thing that makes everything work for me is I'm genuinely detached from GaryVee.
Interesting.
Say more about
How
that.
is that? Yeah.
I don't get my satisfaction in life. I don't get my validation in life from my professional success.
Okay, so when you say you're detached from GaryVee, you mean like the persona of GaryVee?
No, GaryVee is me.
Media
That's
side.
The fame that comes, the awareness or fame or whatever you want to call it, the financial success, the admiration because I'm an entrepreneur and it's cool right now. I'm very it's almost like I'm watching it from here, even though I'm living it. And the reason I bring that up is what I'm about to say. I'm so curious to see what this book does, more from watching it from the sidelines than actually living in it. And what I mean by that is I know I wrote a very important book. It may hit, it may not, meaning it's going to sell because I'm good at that and people are going to, but I mean hit.
Right.
I mean, do I think the two of you might read it? Yes, I do because of what you do. But do I think this one might be the one that you read and you're like, wait a minute, I need every single person I meet to read this. And because it's going into what you just asked. What I realized since I was a child was that attention was the only thing that mattered. And I don't mean attention look at me. I mean, if you were to sell something, and it started with lemonade, I'm being dead serious about what I'm about to tell you. It took me 25 years, 30 years to remember this. I did on stage improv once. I was like, wait a minute. Literally I was giving a talk trying to make a point about attention. I'm like, wait a minute. When I was a child, 6, 7, 8, child, when I sold lemonade, I made Robbie Turnick or my sister Liz sell the lemonade, and I walked up and down the street on Tingley Lane, made signs, and would literally, you know how crazy what I'm about to say is? Would literally sit on the grass on the corner and watch 30 cars drive by and was trying to look at the person's face and be like, should I put it on that tree or that pole? Do they look at the tree or the pole?
Where are they putting their attention?
Yes, so that I could put my sign there and sell my lemonade. That is God-given.
That you knew this as a kid. Where's the customer putting their attention?
I didn't even think of it that way. I didn't even, it took me 30 years to remember it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, wait a minute. And then when I was 14 and doing baseball card shows, I used to walk the whole show and listen to what people were talking about. What did people care about? And then I would go and I would set up my table and then I'd go off around my table, not be behind my table. And I would stand behind people and I would watch them walk by my table and try to get a sense of what would stop them. If my best friend Brandon Warnicki was listening right now, he'd be laughing about the dollar rack or the Donruss 89 box tower. I would do things to stop people.
Which is very different than I think how most people approach marketing or think they're supposed to do marketing, which is I make something first and then I wave my hand and try to get their attention to me as opposed to looking at where their attention's already going.
The reason I've always been right about this shit is that. The reason I did a YouTube show in February 2006. the reason I had a website in 1997, the reason I did email marketing in 1998, or bought the first Google AdWords for wine, or was the person yelling to all of you 6 years ago, TikTok's gonna win, TikTok's gonna win. That's me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what did I see back then? Which was content on social media platforms was everything. And there was no way for me to produce enough to take advantage of it unless I recorded my whole day.
I'm curious where you're looking now, because I do think that, like, when I watch you even today, it does not occur to me that on a daily basis, Team GaryVee is going, where's the attention today? It's like GaryVee is everywhere.
Correct, but it's everywhere that the attention is.
Okay.
I'm not doing a drive time radio show.
Yeah.
I'm not writing an opt-in for the Wall Street Journal every day.
And I think it's even more nuanced in like where the attention is. I'm hearing you say too, what kinds of things are people paying attention to? What's the tone of things?
My framework is PAC, platforms and culture.
Okay.
Platforms and culture. Okay.
So which platforms? And then what are the platforms doing? So yes, Instagram, but what kind of content should you be making for Instagram right now? And I'm not talking about the culture part. Culture is popular culture. Who's popping? What's popping? What do people care about? If you two ladies think that I thought I was going to make content about cliche mistakes that parents make, 10 years ago, I would have laughed you out of the room. It wasn't on my mind. But it became a bigger conversation for both kids and parents because the world's evolving.
So if you're looking at where people's attention already is and kind of figuring out how you can put your business, your brand in front of that, there are
and contribute. You know, it's funny.
Contribute.
I think the reason I broke out was, you said it right, like 99.999% will say it. It's advertising, it's brand building, put in front of. I've always thought of contribute to.
Okay, so this actually answers what I was getting ready to ask you, because I was going to say, if you're thinking about it as advertising, I think about there's lots of things people are doing on social media that I think are silly and stupid, and they're doing a dance, and like, that's not what I want to do to put my attention to, but that's not necessarily the way I want to contribute. Correct. So I think you're saying when you also add the lens of where's people's attention and how do you want to contribute to
multiple things to that. One, I personally, for what I do for a living, think nothing is silly. Yeah. Because I think the audience is right. Yeah. I think most people think they're right, and I think I'm always wrong, and the audience is always right. So if people find it entertaining to see someone eat 10 pizza pies, then people see it. Like, the amount of envy, the amount of delusion that people come to the table with when they strategize around this is astonishing to me. People are like, Gary, this is all so stupid. Look at this person. They're ridiculous. I'm like, they're not. Is Jim Carrey ridiculous? Because Jim Carrey's silly as shit. Yeah. But what comedy is escapism. Yeah. The world is hard. Yeah. And it's nice to put on fucking Netflix and watch a 1 hour stand-up special and laugh. Yeah. Oftentimes about what's complicated in the world. You know, models. What do they contribute? I hear from so many people. This is like, I'm like, they contribute fantasy. They contribute aspiration. They contribute, you're sexually attracted to them. That's a human trait. It's a, you know, so like
beauty is a valuable thing.
It's everything is, and then there's information. There's education. What was I contributing to wine in 2006? I was very educated and could really speak to it, but I was taking the douchery out of it. That's what I was contributing, right? I was a normal Jersey guy. Oh, wait a minute. Like, I can like wine and be like into wrestling and UFC and like trading cards and like the Jets.
So you have a thesis kind of about what you want to do differently, how you want to contribute.
How do you want to contribute? Yeah. You know, to me, I think the number one reason people come to me all the time, as you can imagine, be like, Gary, I'm not growing. This isn't working. I'm like, because you're selfish. Every time you post, you're like, what's in it for me? Yeah. So I want likes. On that I want followers. I want fame. I want money. I want the attention. What are they getting?
I used to think about content because as part of Money with Katie, we have content across a lot of different platforms. And I in the beginning kind of conceptualized of it like a very linear funnel. Okay, I'm going to find you. You're going to find me on Instagram, and then you're going to go want to listen to my podcast, and then I'm going to get you to read my newsletter, and then and I think it was a very like, I want to move you along, and so the Instagram content needs to drive you here, and then this needs to drive you here. And I think what I've been learning over the last year or two is like, no, you need to optimize the audio experience to be as good as possible for that audio listener without the intention of taking them somewhere else. You want them to become as big of a fan of as possible and give them the best possible experience there. On Instagram, it needs to be a social first video. You need to be thinking platform first and platform specific versus here's something that I'm trying to get you to really go somewhere else. But poke holes in that. Like, because I think
no, I'm not. Not only am I not going to poke holes in it, let me tell you what you just described, which is why the last 20 years have been fruitful for me and why so many others have not been able to achieve their goal. And not just me, many others. You just described two very different things when it comes to business.
Okay.
The first thing you described was sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing you described was branding.
Interesting. Okay.
Different.
The first thing you were thinking about was, I need to get them through a sales
A funnel. Yep.
to get them to do this thing that will make me money. Nothing wrong with that. I like business, but that's sales. The second you started to transition and think about brand, things changed.
Yeah.
Like the night this sneaker, they didn't cookie me and follow me around the internet, and then like I saw a banner everywhere, and I buy Nikes because of the brand,
Interesting.
not because of the sales.
Yeah.
Right? And so why I think things worked for me and what I want others to do for others is I'm desperate to provide value. I'm happy to sell books. I want to sell VeeFriends collectibles. I want to sell, wine. But if I didn't, I want people to sign up for winetext.com, which by the way, I want you to. You two should as well. I think I've really hacked the best way to buy wine on the internet. But I don't want them to buy winetext.com because I pound them with, a funnel.
You're just beating them down.
I want whoever's listening right now to have so much affinity that I brought them value. And they're like, yeah, I do buy my wine from wine.com, but I like Gary better. So I'm going to go sign up right now to winetext.com.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Brand.
Yeah.
Brand.
It's a little more human.
Well, listen, brand's a lot more fun for individual humans too.
Oh, I agree.
Like, to your point, we feel better when we're building brand versus just selling. You feel better. It also works better.
Yeah. So you're making a lot of content. I'm curious about how much content you're consuming. Do you have a lean media diet, lean social media diet? Are you scrolling?
I consume an obnoxious amount of content at a surface level.
Okay, that's interesting.
How is it surface?
I'm just trying to know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't care about, but what everyone cares about, but I don't need to be deep in it.
So you're not in the comments debating with everybody on somebody else's post, but you're just
first of all,
what they're saying.
I'm never going to do that because if you're debating in the comments, some shit went down that you're wasting your energy.
Yeah.
I may debate a little bit about sports. I may go into a 76ers post right now and talk a little Knicks shit, but no. I'm definitely not doing that. But I am trying to pay attention to what's happening in the world. I'm very obsessed with popular culture.
Yeah.
Right? So what rappers on the come up, which streamers on the come up, which actresses on the come up, then things like, the Stanley Cups, I could have told you was going to happen a month before it hit everybody's radar.
Yeah.
Right? Why did the mango gummies that are made by Nice, the private label at Walgreens, sell out? Right? I'm paying attention to popular culture. 4 years ago, I'm like, oh, this Mad Happy brand's going to hit.
Yeah.
Right? Things like that. Siegelman Stables. Why did I, 18 months ago, I'm like, oh, that's going to hit. So whether it's fashion or food trends or music trends, I went back, I DM'd Bad Bunny in 2017. 2017. Shout out to Mike Boyd, who puts me on to that stuff. Tyler Walsh, too, now. But, I'm really in it. And so I'm paying attention, to why did the cronut happen? Why did corduroy hats happen?
The cronut.
Why do people care about this person? Why was Charlie D'Amelio's first business meeting in my office? Why did we discover Logan Paul on Vine? I've been doing this forever.
So you're looking at everything that's happening on social. You're always filming yourself. You've got a bunch of businesses. Do you feel comfortable not being busy?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. But I don't feel comfortable not thinking.
Okay.
So that's where my brain doesn't turn off, but it's not stressed. This goes back to the detachment thing.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy, it's actually funny. In vacationing, I enjoy doing nothing.
Yeah.
Beach, plop, eat,
Plop.
sleep, see ya. 1 week later, right? Like chill. But like on a week, first of all, I try to maximize my family time to the fullest. So as you can imagine, like if I'm not working, it's going to be family stuff, whether it's a family dinner, whether it's the weekend, whether it's a vacation.
Yeah.
So like it's family, right? And then like if I find time where it's just me, like, you know, or with one family member, what have you, like, yeah, it's not that I have to be doing something. Like I can lounge, like I can like sit on a couch and watch. I watched the entire Wednesday thing on Netflix one afternoon. I'll do stuff, but here's why it's weird. I'll take the other angle on this. Today I'm going to work all day, and it won't feel like it for real.
Yeah.
You know, like I would rather do the 31 meetings I'm going to have today than if you said, hey, let's go skiing. Or like, let's clear the calendar and cook and listen to music. I don't want to. Like, it's not bad.
Is that though because you're only accepting opportunities that you are excited about? Or are you curating it that way? Or is it the whole thing kind of excites you?
Yes.
And so like you are just, it's
it's a great question. Day to day, there's 30% of what I'm doing that I'm eating shit because I'm operating.
Yeah.
Things I don't want to be doing. You know, I don't want to be on the call I was on the way here apologizing to a client for something. I don't want to be doing that. I gotta do that.
You gotta do it.
You know, like, so there's a lot of gotta.
Yeah.
But you nailed it. But in the macro, I'm operating.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an operator.
And you like doing it. It's fun. That's the play. When I met you, I almost immediately got a couple things. One, the detachment was really clear in the way that you're kind of like, you're chill. You're
in
chilling.
a real way.
Yeah. You're
Like,
not
I
attached to an outcome of this has to go really well. You're not like, you're pressed. You're not pressed.
I'm not pressed.
You're not pressed.
He's not giving pressed energy.
I'm just not. And I also don't think I'm anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Not only am I not pressed, I also prefer humility over ego.
Yeah.
You know, like, to me, what's attractive is when people don't think they're better than.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a very weird part of my life where the circumstances of what I was passionate about as a kid that wasn't cool, business wasn't cool when I was coming up, has now become the coolest.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are putting me on a pedestal in the street, at an airport, at the Knicks game, and I'm so grateful. And it feels so remarkable. But I don't think it means I'm somebody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it means that I'm better than them. It means that they think business is cool, and I'm cool to them. The same way that I think Josh Hart is the coolest, because I think basketball is cool. But just because Josh Hart's a better basketball player than me doesn't mean that he's a better man than me, and vice versa. Just because I'm a great entrepreneur doesn't mean I'm a better man than someone. And so that's how I think about it.
Yeah. So today we're talking about a lot of like building of empires. And really, I think you're touching on what your life could look like, optimizing for maybe being less pressed or optimizing for joy. I'm hearing you talk about what you want to take on. Well, that's what it looks like maybe when you start building an empire. We want to play a little game with you before we wrap up that is sort of centered around what it looks like to think about creating an empire.
Go ahead.
So do you know that game F, Marry, Kill?
Yes.
Okay. So we have like a version
Now I have
of
to
that.
say fuck on this?
I think we can say fuck.
Okay, got it. Just wanted to make sure.
We can say fuck.
Okay.
But we have a version of that, which is like invest, compete, acquire.
Okay.
Okay.
Invest.
Compete, acquire. So I'm going
And
to give you
compete
three.
means that I enjoy competing with them because I admire it, or I want to compete with them because I think I can beat them.
It means I'm going to give you
can
three.
win.
Got it.
We'll give
Cool.
you three
Yeah.
companies, and you pick one you want to invest in,
Yeah.
one you want to compete with,
Yeah.
and one you would acquire.
I'll answer real quick. Compete.
No, you got to pick one.
I'm kidding. I'm
okay,
kidding.
I'll give
I'm
you
kidding.
three.
I'm kidding. I'm joking. Go ahead.
Twitch. This is social media edition.
Okay.
Twitch, TikTok, X/Twitter.
Very interesting. Twitch. So I'm going to make this really valuable for the audience.
Yes.
Let
Yeah.
me break
Explain
down.
your reason.
Let me
Yes.
break it down.
Yeah.
So because I'm taking this way too serious already.
The pressed went away. Now he's pressed about the answer.
Marry, fuck, kill. And this is and the way
Invest,
you're-
compete, acquire.
invest, compete, acquire.
Twitch, TikTok, Twitter.
Back to being a day trader, I
Yeah.
can't take things macro. I have to take them in the way it is right now.
Okay. Yeah, today.
TikTok's going to be banned in America. And they're not going to sell it to anyone. It's just going to be gone. So compete
Invest, compete, acquire.
with TikTok.
Okay.
Because I'm going to win by default because they're going to get disqualified.
You're paying attention to what's happening in the market conditions. That's the attention.
By the way, this first time I'm saying it in public, I really think that's what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
Which is wild ass shit. Talk about someone who's excited. All that attention has to find new homes. People are going to be on.
I'm like,
it's
come
gonna
on back to Instagram, y'all. Where
You know who I think has a dark horse chance of winning heavy?
Yeah.
I think Twitter's going to relaunch Vine.
I loved
Are you
Vine.
serious?
I
think
loved
if I'm Elon and I'm sitting with that name and that IP, it's so easy for them to build
Turn it back on.
100. Everyone's gonna be like, oh shit, this is the OG. It's gonna work. Anyway, that's my little prediction.
Okay, invest, compete, acquire.
Compete with TikTok. Twitch versus X.
Yeah.
Compete and acquire. Twitch versus X.
Invest or acquire because you used to compete.
Invest or acquire. I'm going. Right. So these are both good, right? I believe in both of them. I would probably acquire X because I think X. But I think Elon's doing what I always thought, which was this could do a lot more. Twitter didn't change for a decade.
Yeah.
I think X should be the most important streaming service on earth. Here's why. I think X should be Netflix or Hulu because we go to X to talk about the things that are on Netflix and Hulu.
True.
It would make natural sense for them to be a major streaming service. I think X could be a major streaming service.
Where you both watch and talk about at the same place.
Because it is the water cooler.
It's true.
And so I think there's something there, and you could really maximize 1 + 1 = 11 economics. And so So
you build a TV into the water cooler. Okay, got it.
Then acquire Twitch.
Acquire X, invest in Twitch.
I'm sorry. Acquire X, invest.
I would acquire X because I'd want to operate all the opportunities I see for it.
Yeah.
And with Twitch, it's a great company, and I love live streaming, and streaming's continuing. I think streaming's in the place that social media was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, everybody knew social was big, but they didn't know how big it was.
Yeah.
That's back to what I saw. I think today people know streaming's big. They know Kai Cenat, they know Aiden Ross, they know clicks, they know what's happening. But I don't think people understand in 10 years, it's going to be like omnipresent.
Yeah, all the time. Well, thank you so much for kind of giving us this framework of your vision and how you think about scaling and growing businesses. This has been awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for being here.